I wanted you to answer just a couple of simple questions
No
and
problem.
open it up to the people, just to share a couple of things about how we've all been inspired by Michael.
This is a magazine from in Persian. That's in Farsi, which is Iran, the language they speak in Iran and a lot of other countries. But this is a Persian publication. So what you just said is this proves that point.
Thank you for bringing the Persian magazine. So I had some questions I wanted you to answer. So the first is, I want your opinion, being as knowledgeable as you are, and a man about town and a man about the world, really. What's happening now with this information that's come out about him using like antidepressants and different types of prescription drugs, and maybe was it, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe addicted to, or whatever the case? Do you think that if that is true, that related to that, do you think that not society, but maybe media or Hollywood had some sort of impact in making him go into depression, being all up in his business all the time, like not really giving him a chance to really just be himself whenever something happens, always under the magnifying glass? And what, basically, I'm trying to just get your opinion to share with us on Hollywood's effect, or the media's effect on Michael. There might have been a negative effect, possibly, and it made him maybe go to a point where he needed to have, he developed a dependency on these kind of drugs.
Prescription drugs. He wasn't on crack, or he wasn't on heroin. I don't even know if he was even smoking.
Like drugs to basically make him feel better because his environment was not maybe a happy one. Like I want your.
Well, I think Michael Jackson never was allowed to grow up, in terms of he didn't have a childhood like most of us. And I know people have told me, like someone like Peter Tosh, who's supposed to be this angry reggae man, he grew up like an only child, but he didn't grow up. He grew up with like cousins and stuff, but he had a habit of going to countries and buying like toys and playing with monkeys and all kind of stuff. Michael had it worse than Peter Tosh, because Michael, Peter made it as an adult, but Michael, by the time he was 6 years old, he was on the stage. And, his father takes a lot of heat for, driving his sons, but I guess he would take a lot of heat if his sons ended up broke and hungry too. So, that's part of the situation. But I think he didn't have a childhood, and definitely he could have been dependent upon, I don't know, but he probably was dependent upon, like non-prescription drugs, because of, the way he couldn't come out of the house.
Right. It was like a lot of pressure.
Oh man, and I think he was
a victim.
I think he was a victim of as successful as he was. I think he was a victim of capitalism, of racism, and of imperialism, because he's on point to sell 1 billion records. He sold 750 records while he was alive, and now that he's passed away, he's going to sell 1 billion records. And like Elvis, like Paul McCartney, or I would say he was into African people and oppressed people as a whole. And he was always helping human beings, especially children. And I saw him at the 25th, the Motown 25, and the man was, he had put together all of those people, James, Jackie Wilson, Joe Tex, who was a hell of an entertainer who never gets any credit. And so I think he'll be known as a great humanitarian. Like I say, he loved African people, and he loved all oppressed people, and probably the greatest entertainer of all time. And I'll add a third thing, and he's going to go down right now probably selling more records than anybody in the history of the planet Earth. We're talking about 1 billion records. He's at 750 now. So look for 1 billion records. I don't know if anybody. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe somebody will come along later, but right now, Michael Jackson is the most commercially successful artist, irregardless of black, white, or Asian. He is the human being. I wouldn't say man. He is the man, because he's the person. I'm not going to do a male thing. He is the man, or he is the human being that He's the biggest.
Okay. We thank you for your knowledge and wisdom.
Michael Joseph Jackson was a humanitarian, and he is an example of how you can succeed, and he's also an example of how you can be exploited by a vicious system that is an anti-people system. A man who was trying to do right was done so wrong by the capitalist record companies who did not have the people at heart. They had the bottom line at heart, the money at heart, and Michael was about people and not necessarily about money, and the system that he was in was about money and not about people.
Okay, and before we applaud you coming and jamming with us tonight at Saturday Night Love, can you just tell brothers and sisters where they can find you? I know you're on Facebook, Norman Otis Richmond, but you're also on the radio. Do you still have a regular radio show? Okay, so, but what's, if they want to contact you, should they just add you on Facebook? You're good with Facebook now?
Yeah, I have an email I like to hear. I have a norman.o.richmond@gmail.com, and I am also on Facebook. I'm trying to learn. Anybody want to help me with that? It's rough.
No, you be like leaving stuff on my wall. You be getting good at the postings. I know I see your stuff on my wall. Thank you so much. Sharing about June with Black
Music Month. Yeah. But in terms of our work with CKLN, and there's a big struggle going on at CKLN right now. Hopefully, we'll be black on the radio. I did some stuff with Uhuru Radio. I doing some stuff in England, and I do a podcast with Dr. Gerald Horn. And Gerald Horn was the author of about 27 books from everything you can name. And I do a podcast with him. If anybody would want the podcast, you can email me, norman.o.richmond@gmail.com, and I can send you these podcasts. We talk about everything from Africa to Zimbabwe, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe.
Okay, so once again, that's norman.o.richmond@gmail.com. And if you forget his name, you can just check the Facebook or torontopoets.com, and we'll have the archives, or just holler at Jason. His number is on all the flyers that each of you should have before you leave tonight in a little bit. Make sure that you get one for Cruiser Soul Tuesdays at Train, second and fourth Tuesday, and right here at the Ritz every single Saturday. So let's give it up for Brother Norman. Thank you for coming for the